Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show. We have a very special guest for you tonight. We also promised to let Amanda talk more than 30 seconds tonight because last night she was put on like serious restrictions.
Oh, I had to go prom dress shopping today, so I'm a little spent. That's a lot. That's a lot, man.
Who invited you to the prom?
No one invited me.
I was going to ask you, you're going to the prom, Amanda?
Yes.
This is awesome.
I'm going to the prom. Actually, I am going. I'm going with my husband and I are accompanying our daughter.
So your husband invited you?
Yes.
Simple question.
We don't get to ride in the chicken limo, though.
What school?
So we're homeschoolers.
Okay.
And so it's like a homeschool prom thing.
Outstanding.
And so her entire class, all of the kids in her freshman year, are going to be riding in the chicken limo together to prom.
And where are you guys having this at?
It's at Jacksonville Zoo.
Outstanding. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Your mom and I would like to see your dress and approve it before you go to prom.
I've sent the pictures.
No. We
to
want
all
to see
the family.
pictures. I want to make sure that it's appropriate to wear. Okay.
I'll show you.
Your mom and I would like to know.
Okay.
I want your mom to sign on here that she has seen the dress and that she approves the dress. Her mom listens all the time to the show, so.
I'll tag her.
All right.
She's on vacation. It's my dad's birthday this week, so they're on vacation.
You're not getting out of the dress being approved, young lady.
I know.
I know that that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to hope that I forget because I'm older and senile, but it's not going to happen in this case.
That is true.
When is this prom? How much time do we have?
So it's the 19th. So
it's creeping up. I was going to say, it's creeping up on you going prom dress shopping.
Yes. We were a little late. Boomer, the sound.
No, my microphone, I was talking to Sheriff Hardwick upstairs, and Sheriff Hardwick is our special guest today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming, man.
Appreciate
it. I know that you usually have to get up super early to do that other show. You know, that show that's on in the morning sometimes when they're not on vacation.
The Van Strange?
They're at the Van Strange show, yes. And we asked you to do a complete background check on Van Strange, and you've got some information for us there.
Yes, I'm excited. I didn't really want to release this tonight because I wasn't prepared, but we did the background investigation, of course, on the man they call Pete Melfi. And the good news is, after doing an iris check, which is facial recognition, he's not Pete Melfi. He's actually Van Strange.
Wow.
So he has been masquerading as Pete Melfi all of this time.
Not any longer.
Not any longer.
No.
I know the truth.
Yeah, the truth.
Yeah. So great news, actually.
I know that you were going to do one on Troy Blevins. Is it true that it burned up the printer when you hit print?
So actually, we got to restart that background because he has multiple names he's used over the past that I'm concerned about.
Tony Belvins is one of them.
Tony Belvins. I like Tony Belvins. He's a nice guy.
Tony Belvins. He's a phenomenal real estate person. If you need real estate, call Tony Belvins.
Is that the school crossing guard, Tony Belvins?
Yes, Tony Belvins has been a school crossing guard as well. Yeah. I hear he does trivia also.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what again, in the early stages of that background investigation, Pete took time because the machines did smoke. So we did find out Van Strange is alive and well.
Yeah. It's nice to know.
Did the smoke smell like menthols? That's my question.
Does his mom listen to this show?
Yes, she does.
Okay, lovely. I'm so sorry. I was put up to this. I love you to death. My apologies.
She is awesome. So we're trying to get Susan on the show.
She's waiting for a date.
And we're trying to get a date, and I need to reach out to her and explain why, because we're trying to organize something. It'll really be cool and really be fun. So just patience with us on that.
Susan, you hold out for dollar signs. You're worth it.
Well, we tried to give her we've given her tiles. We gave her tiles from the 0.5K run.
Dollar signs, not tiles.
I know. But her son wouldn't even give her tiles from the run.
Yeah.
Who is that son?
We got it there.
He's Van Strange is doing well.
I wonder if Susan will actually give us the birth certificate to show us that it was actually Van Strange at birth.
Susan,
I'm just kidding, Susan. My goodness.
Send me the birth certificate. I can Photoshop it.
Yeah, we can fix this. We can 100% fix this. Please send it. All right, we got to make a little bit of money here. So quickly, some ads. Salomon Services, the premier place for personal training in St. Augustine. They got a state-of-the-art center with both indoor and outdoor turf areas, and all of their coaches are certified through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Give them a call. Go get in shape. I keep telling you still got plenty of time. 904-461-9945. I'll be there tomorrow. Great people work out there. The coaches are amazing, and the facilities are awesome.
That's right. Sorry, I was just reading Bobby in the comments. He loves it when we call you Boomer. Howell Heating and Air Conditioning. It's dedicated to customer service, and that has been evident in everything they do for the past 39 years that they've been a locally owned business. From the moment they answer your call until the time they leave your home, they are working to make you comfortable and confident about the care and service you receive from PAL. With their fleet of 10-plus trucks, a 15,000 square foot warehouse stocked with parts and equipment, they are ready to serve you around the clock. They service all heating and air conditioning brands, and their emergency service is always open. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, including nights, weekends, and holidays. Opening their doors in 2008, Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency, has proudly stood by their customers through hurricanes, major floods, hail, and fires. Through these events, the agency has become a much-needed insurance resource in times of trouble and hardship. Honesty and integrity are the pillars of our core values, says owner Ashley Casey. We pride ourselves on being insurance experts while developing strategies that help our clients meet their insurance needs. They truly enjoy the relationships that they have forged with you, St. Augustine, so give them a call. Brightway Insurance, the Casey Agency.
All right, and Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a new or used car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard Ford has been a dealer here in St. Augustine since 1949. They've also been the recipient of numerous awards, including being the #1 ranked automotive dealer in the United States by Dealer Rater. Amazing place. Go see Bo and Letty or check them out online at bozardford.com. If you go to Ford's Garage, check out that Jiffy Burger. Please keep it on the menu. Do whatever you have to do. Order 3 of them, give them to your friends. But apparently it's an amazing burger. And also, since we're doing Bozard Ford, the Bozard Ford Community Update, the Task Force Hydro 1 second annual Grand Luau, thank God I got the name right, is at the Mark Lance Armory. It's May 11th, 5 to 8 p.m. Are you working with these guys at all, Sheriff? The Task Force Hydro 1?
I don't know if we are, actually.
I need to get you in touch with them. So they are veterans.
Yeah.
Who 2 of the guys met surfing in Jack's Beach.
Okay.
And decided they needed to help other veterans by getting them into surfing, also into the Hawaiian outrigger.
Yeah.
Canoeing.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. Their organization continues to grow and grow. One of their members was the Afghani who passed away last year. Right?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I know who they are.
Yeah. So great group. If you get it, I know you and Kendall go to 8 million things, but this is a phenomenal thing to go to. Really a great group of veterans, really reaching out and helping other veterans deal with the stress and the trauma of trying to get re-engaged and live a normal, and they're all surfers, which makes them pretty cool as well.
So using the surfing as therapy. I love it. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
As you know, my 2 boys both surf, so that's awesome, actually.
We got to get you out there.
I'm too old, Mike.
Oh, no. You're
Mike,
never
I'm too
too
old.
Listen, if Tim the Legend O'Neill can still surf, you can do it at any time.
You know we coached together, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's as long as you know that part. All right, never mind.
Were you coaching at the Y together when Tim's team got beat by 1 billion points?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just
we
know
never got beat by 1 billion points.
I know who the coach was.
I don't recall that. I don't recall getting beat by 1 billion points. That's when
I think it was the Burkharts were with him at that point in time.
True statement.
Yeah.
Yes, true
It may
statement.
have been the Burkharts that were with him. Yeah, I walked in the gym, and I don't know if you remember Minos Saros.
I do.
He was coaching for Victor.
Sure.
Victor was off somewhere else, and I called Victor. I said, "Did you tell your dad to run up the score today?" I said, "You're about to in like a 5-year-old game break the clock at the Y."
Well,
It wasn't. They were like really like 10 or 12-year-olds, but yeah. And Victor's like, I called my dad after the game. He said, "Victor, it wasn't me. They just wouldn't miss."
It's funny because back then I was actually coaching. I had Stevie Paco on my team.
Yes.
And Stevie came to practice one time and shaved his eyebrows.
Oh, no.
Love that Paco family.
The Pacos are wonderful.
Love that Paco family.
Also, this Saturday, Surf Quest by the Arc is at the Mary Street Ramp at 1 p.m. So if you've got somebody that you want to teach to surf or wants to learn how to surf, they have disabilities, a great group of coaches that are out there, great group of Arc people. So head on out there. I'm going to try to be there this weekend if I get done with all my chores. I have stuff to do.
Bobby's got a question for Sheriff Hardwick.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
So he says that the morning show crew suggested that pickleball was a flash in the pan sort of fad. So he wants your take on whether pickleball is a fad.
So I will tell you this. So just yesterday, I was up at the yards up in Ponte Vedra. They had a fundraiser for the Vickers Landing up there. And they actually, all their money is going back to 4 not-for-profits here in St. Johns County. They had almost 80 people playing in this tournament yesterday.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, my wife and I have been sunk into it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we are actually playing pickleball now too as well after we
Nice.
got our butts beat by the St. Johns County Fire and Rescue and that rigged match that we played in with the young people, by the way, Whitehead, for goodness sakes. But anyways, actually we're having a good time. Kendall and I have been playing with it or playing it and learning a little bit better. And then next thing you know, we're kind of got people in the agency playing. So anything to get outdoors, Bobby, and just do something different besides sitting on the couch, I'm all in.
Yep, cool.
Bobby,
Does he agree with the fad or not the fad?
He just wanted your take on whether...
You want to play us, Bobby?
Bobby, don't ask me. In 1983, when Rapper's Delight came out, I said, this is not going to last. So do not ask me if a fad is going to stick around or not. I am the worst person to ask in the entire world. Billions and billions of dollars have been made in that industry, and I never saw it coming.
Your finger is officially not on the pulse. Is that what you're
not
saying?
that pulse.
I will say this, though. This
last.
county just agreed on a massive infrastructure of parks in St. Johns County, upwards of over $100 million. If you look at all those plans, there's pickleball courts on every single one of those plans. So if it's a fad, we're going to have to change it to a skateboard park in another couple of years.
That's what Barbara Jane was saying. She's like, how many pickleball fields do we actually need in this county?
Seriously, I have to agree with you. Yeah.
We approved one in the city, planning and zoning.
Recently?
By the shipyards.
Oh, yeah.
So where Pink Stork is, God, I'm giving all kinds of great plugs for free today. By the Pink Stork, which is a great company, there's a space in that building that is being turned into an indoor pickleball court.
I just saw that it was $200 for the year. I think it said what it said, and then of course you had to pay when you get there. I saw that.
And the crazy thing is, we were trying to figure out as planning and zoning board members if we granted them what we were granting them, right? So you're like, are we? The zoning allowed all these other things, so it's like, are we allowing them to have a bar that just happens to be a pickleball court? I mean, it was a lot.
Nicely said.
There's kind of some funny nuances, and I said, I know we're overthinking this as a board, but at the same time, this is how bad things happen, right? You go,
totally agree.
Oh, pickleball's great, and then all of a sudden, you have a bar, right, that has a pickleball court underneath it.
Yeah.
Like,
the good news is, and we appreciate it, it's actually in the city of St. Augustine limits, so thank you for leaving it outside the county.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
I actually see this becoming a bigger and bigger trend. I'll tell you who's really behind it and going to start sponsoring it is orthopedics doctors, right?
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah, because
Good
these
business.
old people haven't moved in years, and then they go out there and they play pickleball, and they get injured.
Mike, you calling Kendall and I old?
No, I said the old people. I'm talking about me and Bobby.
My mom's orthopedist once told her, every time you see someone running on the side of the road, that's someone helping me put my kids through college.
That's a good point. Yeah. So thank you for pickleball, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Listen, my dad and Judge Watson ran every day. Later in life, Judge Watson told me, he said, I would never run on a road again, ever. Ever. But the funny thing is, because he was a judge, he always ran on the inside and made my dad run. Yes. Yeah, I guess he was like, my dad was his buffer.
Two phenomenal men, by the way.
And I thank you.
Yeah.
And I used to watch, I lived across the street from Judge Watson. He would walk his dog at night. Yeah. There was always a little 38 sticking out of his back pocket.
Oh, yeah, always had a gun on him somewhere.
Always. I was like, yep. And Darcy's like, what does that mean? I said, well, if you see a car drive up and he reaches for his back pocket, duck. Because it's about to get bad.
Yeah, he was a gem of a judge, I'll tell you what. Yeah, special man.
Yeah.
He was really cool. So how are things in the Sheriff's Department? And also you're running for re-election. So an election year for you. You got the Sheriff's Department going on. So I know the morning show is so scripted. And they make you follow this entire format. So I just want you to know you have freedom here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's no censorship here, Pete Melfi and Davey. We let you talk about whatever you want to talk about.
And Mike and Amanda, I appreciate you not giving me a script to read tonight, normally like Van Strange does, of course, and Davey and Troy. So I appreciate I can actually speak freely and not be trapped into, of course, a fixed or a rigged show like they're trying to make their money off of.
Yes.
But everything's going great at the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. So we continue to grow. Of course, St. Johns County is just, it's growing. It's busting at the seams. But our crime is not increasing with the population. What's actually happening is, of course, we are seeing an increase in domestic violence, of course, stalking, injunction violations or violation of injunctions. But that's a 43% increase in our population over 10 years. So I think we're going to see things actually, of course, increase in crimes like that. We had 3 homicides last year. I wish we had 0. 2 of those were actually in the same car, which it's solved. We just need to put a little bit better evidence together, of course, on our suspect per the state attorney's office. But, with that, we're doing some things a little bit different in the St. Johns County Jail. My team and I have put together one heck of a program for re-entry, pre-entry, and a little bit of outreach going on. Our recidivism is down by 10%. It's the first time in the history of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. Everybody else statewide and kind of countrywide are kind of staying at 25% to 30%. And we continue to come up with innovative ways, of course, to make people better into what they come into our county jail as. Our population this morning was at 430. Right to our north, you got, of course, Duval County, who's encroaching on, of course, almost 3,000. Poor Michelle Cook over there, of course, she has an old jail, and she's actually looking to fund 100 more beds. And she actually said the other day, when we were with the Attorney General Ashley Moody, that she could physically fill those beds tomorrow. So I think we're actually in a good place. We have great relationships with those sheriffs. We talked about, actually excited today that our reentry team actually told me that we've had 226 people that have been reunified that are homeless here in St. Johns County. And this isn't just arrest. I mean, this is also our outreach program, of course, our partnerships with the St. Augustine Business Coalition and the St. Augustine Police Department.
So when you say reunited,
yeah,
they're sending them back home.
Yeah, so what we're doing is actually we make contact, of course, with, of course, cooperation of the person that's actually being reunified. Is where'd you come from? How'd you end up here? What is the hard time you're currently in, or how'd you get here, or how'd you get to this dark valley in your life? We make contact where they come from and find out that family and friends are kind of like, we want them to come back home. We want to be a support chain for them. So we formed up, of course, with the city of St. Augustine, working hand in hand with them. Sergeant Brittany Garman downtown, who's running the downtown squad now, and then my Sergeant Michael Clark, who's running reentry, teamed up with the St. Augustine Business Coalition. They put some money, of course, in a 501c3 where we can use those funds to get people back on their feet and get them back where they came from. So 226 as of 2 days ago. And we know of 6 people out of that 226 that have actually returned. But what's happening since then is we get text messages and emails and phone calls and letters from those 226 people saying, hey, I'm doing good. I'm back on my feet. I have a job. I'm in substance abuse. I'm in mental health. I'm getting my VA benefits. So again, it's just, it's kind of, we always talk about that round peg and that round hole. We've done that with reentry.
And that's such a different approach, right?
Sure.
So 40 years ago,
right?
If there was a homeless person or somebody walking through town or hitchhiking, the police had a different plan.
Yeah.
You pick them up, take them out to the interstate, buy them breakfast, buy them lunch, buy them dinner, and tell them you can go north or south, but don't come back into town. It was it wasn't, hey, we're going to send you back to your family. We're just sending you away from here.
Sure.
So it's a completely different approach to dealing with it.
I mean, it actually had a name. It was called the TARP program. Basically, it was the transient relocation program where you would get the problem out in somebody else. Those days are over with. And I was part of that ignorant process back just 30 years ago when I was working for the city of St. Augustine as a bicycle cop. We didn't know any better. And everybody went to the county jail or got dropped off in the TARP program. And with that being said, we've come a long, long ways now where there's so many resources out there and great partnerships we share with not-for-profits and for-profits that we can actually get people back on their feet. So I'm not a big fan of just incarceration and doing nothing, because those are the people that are going to come back out and offend on our families, or, we're going to be victims, of course, of circumstances of course, committing crime. So I think we're doing... My jail smells good. It's clean. It's very quiet. I know a lot of the inmates in there. I try to walk it once a week. I'm proud of it.
I'm one of your neighbors. I don't hear a lot of noise from them.
I hope not. And I know you and I've had some conversations about our new recreation yard over there, which has been kicked back numerous times for construction issues.
We have had a discussion. I do appreciate you answering the call.
Sure.
Right? I mean, now and for us, I mean, just to kind of let people know, there was an exercise yard there 20 some years ago when Neil Perry was the sheriff. It got moved over to the north side. It's now back on the south side, and it's just we got to see a lot of interesting things at that time.
I hope that does not happen again with modern technology that we have. But of course, I'm sure I'm just a phone call away, Mr. Davis.
Well, you are, and it was, I tell people that I did not witness this. I was probably in high school or college when it happened, but there was no screening on the fencing.
Sure.
So the inmates were out there exercising one day, and this is back in the 1980s, so it goes way back. It isn't recent history. And 2 girls pulled up on like a Trans Am, got out in bathing suits and laid on the hood as all the guys were exercising. I don't know who their boyfriend was. I don't know any of that stuff.
This is years ago, just for the record.
That story has stayed within the company like for 40 some years, right? It has never gone away of, that was one of the days. So.
And by the way, Bobby, we're not bringing pickleball to the jail. That's just...
That's a rumor, Bobby.
One thing, of course, with the rec yard over there, of course, is through classification, these inmates can't be together type of thing. So we're required by law to get them, of course, some type of sunlight, daylight, or some type of recreation. And what happened recently here when Mike and I were talking was the current rec yard, which is on the other side, which you can't see, we had some corrosion in actually the beams up there. So we had to shut it down for an extended period of time. Well, if you keep people chopped up too long in the closed buildings, of course, there's going to be more problems.
Yeah.
And we don't want the suicides to increase or the attempted suicides to increase or disciplinary problems or additional charges on people because they're cooped up because of our fault.
Yeah.
So basically what we did was we created this rec yard over here, of course. It's going to be used for medium to low custody inmates, men and women, of course. There's a lot of cameras now. When I took over as your sheriff, we weren't recording in our jail, which I didn't understand. We're recording now. And the reason why I say that is with recording, of course, and we have something go on, we can actually go back and solve it. The other thing we added to as well was narcotics dogs in the jail. Raven and Cora are new to our facility. They just came back. They're two German short hair pointers from they're Canucks. They're from Canada.
Yeah.
But they're two sisters that are actually doing narcotics. So another part of the process of going back into our facility and not bringing contraband, of course, and just a little bit of extra patrols too with cameras and modern technology. I think we're just doing things a little bit different, wiser, a little bit think a little bit smarter.
Well, and I will joke with you, we do the same thing, right? So we've been across the street from you for years. Sure. We never had all the cameras. We put the buildings up. We have cameras everywhere now. So if something happens in the parking lot, I'm like going to our IT guy, look this back up, find out who put that mark, find out who hit this, and we can go back and track it down, and then I can go knock on the tent and go, hey, can you let this person know we saw all of that, and we really would appreciate it if that didn't happen. So,
I'm sure you remember this, Mike, but just down the street from you, of course, heading back towards US 1, there was a beautiful little wooden gazebo there.
Yes, I remember the gazebo.
Our employees would go out and enjoy a smoke out there, of course. And I became your sheriff, and I'm like, what are we doing, by the way, with this gazebo thing? Well, next thing you know, I had a person I know in the community saying, hey, just so you know, heard through the grapevine, there was some tobacco products dropped off for the work squad inmates outside by the gazebo. I made a phone call that night to Captain Larry Durden. I said, I want the gazebo gone tomorrow morning. Literally the next morning, I came into work, and I work unorthodox hours. The gazebo was on the back of a trailer moving. it was you know, it's funny because my staff would tell you, it's like, Sheriff, be careful what you say. Like, if you don't like the fort, the next day the fort will be gone. So careful what you say.
Please don't say that. I like the
fort.
fort.
I love the fort. No, my fort. Yeah, but it was seriously, it's like, I don't like that gazebo. There's smoke in there. The next day I came to work and it was gone. It was physically gone.
See, and the difference probably between your management style and mine, I would have called the employee that did that, and I would have said, you know, him expecting, hey, great job, you got it done right away. I'd be like, what the hell took you so long? I called you at 2 a.m. and it took you till 6 a.m. to get that done. Yeah. Why did it take 4 hours?
It's been 5 hours, buddy. Yeah, way too long. Well, the funny thing was I actually had a phone call from a judge you know very well, and he called me and said, Sheriff, the best thing you did was take that gazebo away. I said, Judge, why would you say? He goes, every time I drove by, it looked like your employees were out there just like they're trash, out there smoking cigarettes, flicking cigarettes. I'm like, you're welcome, Judge. Get rid of it. It's gone.
It's gone.
So now it's on back on the backside and nobody can use it.
I would have told him, have you looked behind the judicial complex? Because that's where we moved it to.
I should have said that.
We moved it right behind the judicial complex.
I probably could have moved it across the street in the middle of nightom, and people were like, what happened? We don't know. It came down from space. Yeah, it's space junk. Came out of the space station.
The weirdest reverse rapture ever.
True.
So you mentioned state attorney earlier, right? Part of our checks and balance in the system is you guys investigate crimes. They got to charge the crimes.
Right.
And I know RJ well. I worked out with him the other day. I think highly of him. How's the relationship between you guys? I know, because at times you would think that's a really easy relationship, but sometimes you can disagree on how things should be presented. So,
you know, I think the professional relationship that we've had, and of course, I worked for RJ. He was my boss when I was the assistant chief there. I worked on a course under him and John Tanner for 12 years at the state attorney's office. We have a great relationship, of course, with the attorneys. We can agree to disagree on certain things. I mean, the facts of the matter is that the jury instructions basically are kind of our go-by. You know, it's kind of the layman terms of what a jury would actually need to convict somebody in a crime. So with that, again, sometimes it's just the probable cause is there, but the facts of the case to get past the judgment of acquittal are not there. So again, we have a great relationship. RJ and I talk on a regular basis. The attorneys and I are very close. Of course, we have families that are married to each other, and it's my home, you know. So that's where I came from and learned how to do a lot of the investigative things that I can do today. So a great relationship, I would say. And again, we don't agree on everything, and if we do, then there's a problem. But I think it's great, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome because we have we have great people in government in St. Johns
so,
County. And so, when you don't have great people or you have people that have a disagreement, the people that suffer are the residents of the county.
I have to agree.
Right?
And we forget that sometimes, by the way. We as politicians get in our own way sometimes and forget who we're truly serving because we're not serving ourselves. In my case, I'm serving almost 1,000 employees, but also, too, we have 300,000 residents of every race, creed, color, religion, sexual orientation, and age. And we forget sometimes that also we have a jail. By the way, we have a jail that we're actually have, and I call it a gated community with people that are temporarily there because they're temporarily there. They're not staying forever. I hope not. So just trying to do things a little bit different, of course. But those relationships are so key to success. And sometimes we've got to humble ourselves and shut our mouths and listen to these other politicians and do things for the best interest of the citizens.
Fentanyl.
Yes, sir.
Big. As I've talked to a lot of people that are in fire rescue, they're in the fire department, they're in the police department, they're just in public health settings.
Right.
Where Narcan 15 years ago was nobody carried it. Now pretty much everybody carries it for their own safety and protect. So what does the fentanyl problem look like in St. Johns County right now?
That was one thing actually why I had to add some canines to the jail itself. We had some overdoses in there, and I think you can figure out how the drugs will get in there. We have the same scan machines that they have at TSA up in the airports, but they're looking for metal type of objects. So the scan is as good as the eyes can see, per se. Yeah. So as you look at that 3D scan, of course, it's as good as the eyes can see. But if you have a substance that is actually hidden somewhere in the body cavity, it's going to get it into my jail. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this very candidly, that I'm not an addictive person, but I understand that when you have an addiction, you'll do things that are evil, per se, to feed that addiction. So with that, people, of course, are getting these drugs, of course, into our jail. So that was one of the reasons why we did this narcotics dogs in there. So let's kind of fast forward out to the street, what we're doing different on the street. First of all, it was like the newest invention when law enforcement and first responders were carrying Narcan. Now you can physically buy it online. You can get it shipped to your house, which, Dennis Lima, who's the sheriff down in Seminole County, and if you look up Project Opioid, I'm okay with that, by the way. So if these known users of our narcotic, if this is what they actually can use to get themselves out of that state, but we got to go a little bit deeper and get these people help. So again, I'm that person that comes into my jail, and if you kind of just do a turnstile type of enforcement, meaning that you turn them into jail, you release them back out there with no services, then you're going to get the call for service again. And, back in the crack cocaine days, back in the 80s and 90s, people were, and I hate to use the word rape, but they were raping, robbing, and stealing and murdering their own family members for this drug. We're not too far from that right now. This is a for-profit drug that was actually invented as a time-release patch for cancer patients, almost in like a 3x3 or a 4x4 patch with a gel time release in there. And now, of course, Mexico's in the business of making money. And now it's in the powder form, in the liquid form, and making it into America, through major cities. And what we've had to do is educate ourselves on, of course, now we become the first responder, meaning legit first responder, as you got to kind of put the badge and gun away because, and not to use you an example, Amanda, but we go to Amanda's house and Amanda has overdosed. We get there and
it hasn't happened this year.
No, I'm not saying we went to Amanda's house.
Year.
Well, not today.
Not
today.
Not today. But anyway, so let's just say we go to Amanda's house, and God forbid, of course, her family called in and said, we found Amanda passed out, and there's some paraphernalia around here. We get there, and there's an ounce of fentanyl. We can't even charge Amanda with a crime. And it's not that I'm trying to get her in jail, but in order for me to get resources, but when Amanda wakes up from this, comatose, basically, of fentanyl, she tells us to get out of her house. The law says we got to get out of your house. We can't even force you to go get any type of substance abuse help.
Wow.
We can seize your drugs and your paraphernalia. We can't charge you. We can't ask you where it came from. We can do an investigative, presumptive, basically, inquiry on you, but we can't charge you with a crime based on the narcotics in the house. So what we just did now was we didn't basically tell you go ahead and do more, but we did nothing to get you in our system.
Yeah.
So this drug is evil. We're seeing it now in every shape, every form. We're seeing it laced into other drugs just because the high is so good from what we're being told by users, confidential informants. Undercover narcotics agents are telling us the high is nothing like they've ever experienced before. And with that, what is next? I mean, this is the current trend right now. It's very accessible. It's affordable. And again, it's right here in our backyard. So we're trying to educate. I'm proud to kind of tell you that, last year we worked just under 100 non-fatal overdoses and worked over roughly 30 fatal overdoses. If we're currently on track right now and we continue to see the current numbers, the numbers are going to subside just a tad bit. And maybe this is because society is now going, okay, it's okay for them to actually, or maybe a parent to give Narcan to a younger or an adult child that has a narcotics addiction on fentanyl or something like that. So we've come a long ways. We are still making an arrest on that. If we don't find it on a daily basis, somewhere during traffic stops or somewhere during encounters with the public on a call for service, it's out of the ordinary. We find it almost daily. Not large amounts.
Fentanyl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh wanted to know, why can't you charge somebody for it? You had mentioned if it's a small amount, is it just statutorily that's the legal amount?
Yeah. So Josh, actually, when you have an overdose, of course, when we actually respond to an overdose, it's almost like an illegal search and seizure of your house, because we entered your house now under the medical assumptions. So we're actually in there. So just a fine line we're walking in there, which is Florida state statute, because we've entered your house now because of a medical issue. And now basically we found fruits of the poisonous tree, which would be narcotics or fentanyl. And to charge you, of course, the state's saying that would not be legal. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
So it's not the amount, it's the circumstances
Correct.
under which you entered the house.
Yep.
So I would imagine it's hard to find fentanyl on a call without there being an overdose, because it takes such a small amount.
Yeah, it is. And this is one of those narcotics too. It's so dangerous for our law enforcement deputy sheriffs, and not just for our law enforcement deputy sheriffs, families and friends and coworkers and spouses, and with that being, with the assumption that you have this person in your life that's battling some type of addiction, not just an addiction that's deadly, a deadly addiction that just takes a very small amount of a powder substance or the narcotic itself to actually kill you with an overdose yourself. So again, this is a fine line that we're all walking on here with, again, people that are just down in those dark times of their life and those valleys of the valleys of their life, where they're trying to get out through this addiction. And this fentanyl is easy to find, because now we don't need to go find the person that's on the cancer, patch patient per se. We can find it for the street level narcotics dealers that are actually dealing it, get it offline through. Yeah, it is wild. So Josh, that's kind of what the law is currently saying. And it's a really sticky situation, really gray area too as well, that's going to be thrown out.
Yeah. So if you find it not in a medical circumstance, not in an overdose, then that person can be charged, just not someone that's in an overdose.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, just like I said. So basically, it's a medical call that we're actually getting there first, just because of our response. And of course, we're giving Narcan, and literally we see them actually pop back up after a Narcan deployment. And originally, it was like one Narcan deployment. We're seeing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Narcan deployments on one person.
Wow.
And they come back to life, angry, get up, and get themselves back together and go, get out of my house. I don't want to cooperate. I'm not going to talk to you. Yeah. We've seen it. It's happening, not daily, but darn close to it.
Why the additional Narcan needed? Is it that they have a tolerance and they're taking more?
Sure, we don't really know. So there's actually some narcotics out there right now. There are actually some mixtures of illegal drugs that the Narcan does nothing for at all. The good thing is with Narcan, if you're not familiar with it, I could take Narcan right now, and all three of us, it does nothing to hurt you, because it's there to offset the high of or the use of the narcotics that are actually in the noxaproline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. See, you're a doctor too.
You just,
well, that's not, it's because policing,
de facto.
When you got into it,
yeah,
that was not something you had to worry about or be concerned about. And now, for your own safety and the safety of your employees, right? Our law enforcement and first responders, you guys better be, you have to know about it. It's become such a dangerous thing for everybody.
Well, I think this, and I hate to say this, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but we become de facto social workers. And that's not what we're trained. We don't go to school for 700 hours and learn how to be a social worker.
Yeah.
But what happens now is we become that de facto social worker, which is a good thing, by the way, because who else are you going to call? Yeah. And what we've done different here in the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, I added something new this year, and it's called a co-responder. We have licensed clinical social workers riding with our deputy sheriffs. They triage a call based on dispatch calls, of course, that come out on our screens. And if it meets the criteria of suicide, substance abuse, mental health, this co-responder unit, which has one licensed clinical social worker, Leslie for now Waller, and one of our deputy sheriffs riding together in a car. And they'll take that call from the other deputy sheriffs, because they're specifically trained in dealing with those type of things, because we're trying to save lives. By the way, we're not trying to walk in there and draw our firearms and push the envelope so you do go the next level, which is maybe take your own life. So we've come a long way. So this co-responder program is currently up and running at the sheriff's office. It's been about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, and it's going to get better and better as we continue to save lives.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of bringing that 4 years ago when you ran.
Yeah.
Huge topic,
goodness.
right?
Yeah.
Was body cams.
Yeah, huge. Yeah.
It was a huge thing. So what's the implementation of that been like? I mean, obviously, the reaction was, we need to see what the police are doing.
Yeah.
On the police side, the comment was, well, some things you don't want to see. and we don't want to be public record. So how have you guys handled that over the last 4 years?
Sure. And just kind of refresh your memories, 4 years ago, I was the ignorant leader, by the way, that was against body-worn cameras. And at the time, I was a member of the Criminal Justice and Standards and Training Commission. I was appointed by Governor Rick Scott, which is basically the oversight committee that actually polices the police across the state of Florida. So I had just seen things on there. Not one case was like coming to me where body-worn cameras was like the fix all, basically, or the solve all. So fast forward, of course, to now. I had some ask basically from our deputy sheriffs and from the community saying, "Hey, can we just do a pilot program to see what the community does?" So I did a pilot program the end of my first year into my second year, and there was no pressure, by the way. What I didn't want to do was wait for that George Floyd incident to happen again, where the government forces you and said, okay, now you don't have it, you're going to force you to have it. Let's do it on our terms, our time, when the community wants us to do it. I thought it was perfect timing. So we had a pilot program done. We used a couple body-worn cameras that were, at the time, were in service, of course, through contracts. And next thing you know, the community's like, Sheriff, what are you doing? You said you weren't going to go to body-worn cameras. And we had them up in the northwest part of St. Johns County. So anyway, so we kind of took them off. We did a pilot program, and I said I can use this money for something else in the agency, as we were actually spending money on other technology-based policing in our real-time intelligence center. So anyway, so about a year goes by, and I made the decision. I was like, I don't want to be told to do this. I kind of physically said, it's time to do this. And by the way, it's not just to hold my deputy sheriffs accountable. It's to hold my community accountable too, as well. So with that, we put the body-worn cameras on. We tried different, a couple brands, Panasonic and Axon, and another one we tried out. Of course, went through the vetting process of what cameras worked best for our agency. And then we implemented them over a year ago now. I will tell you this now, we can never go back, because what it's done is our internal affairs complaints have gone down. It's given a chance for our lieutenants and sergeants to truly triage this stuff, where it doesn't have to go, when you do an internal affairs complaint and you actually, we call what they say, put it in the book. So you put in the book basically is, Rob Hardwick committed this offense, investigated, and this was the findings. There's like 6 lines that belong in that. That book stays with you 55 years after you leave my agency. So it's till your death. And that's what agencies actually look at when they come in, and they don't read the whole investigative narrative. All they get is this little book with 1 line across here that tells 6 parts what we're doing. So with the body-worn cameras, first of all, it did a lot of things. It held us accountable of our own people, by the way, but it held my community accountable of false allegations on my deputy sheriffs. And it was simple, because I don't want to get into the case, but she's an attorney. She's retired from the United States military. She was pulled over for suspicion of drunk driving on a Saturday, called in by at least 1 witness, maybe 2 witnesses, up on County Road 210. And my deputy sheriffs actually pulled her over after seeing the driving pattern. They pulled her over. They went to, she was lethargic. There were some things in there that indicated that she was impaired. She was a black female. And there were some allegations made against my deputy sheriffs being all white. I don't know if you could have asked for 3 more deputy sheriffs from the smorgasbord of what we kind of look like and what we represent. One was Hawaiian, one was a black male, one was a white male, and she was a black female. Well, she made allegations that that my males treated her and basically made comments about her race, creed, color, religion, sexual orientation. Well, we pushed play. And we found out right away. So when she called me back, and she's a friend of mine to this day, she called me back and I said, this is what we're going to do. You're going to come in and you're going to watch your own body cam. And then you're going to decide if we're going to move forward with a complaint. Never heard from her again, because she knew her actions in there. So if that would have been a normal complaint with no body-worn cameras, that would have went all the way, and my 3 deputy sheriffs probably would have been sustained on, basically suspicion of whatever it may be, the allegations were at the time. But what it also did was this. It preserved evidence. It preserved statements or spontaneous utterance of people that were involved in crimes, witness statements that you couldn't get again because of uncooperativeness. So when you roll up on a crime scene now, the body-worn cameras are rolling. They have a 30-second backwards with no audio, meaning that, let's say Mike and I roll up on a camera and I push my camera, Mike doesn't push his, but we can go backwards 30 seconds on his with no audio if he just forgets to push it. So again, our cases are more solid now. We actually hold our people accountable, like I said. And then also, too, we're preserving evidence in these major cases and preserving statements that are given and maybe in the initial. So I walk up on a car crash and Amanda says, this person was driving, this person was there. But I talked to Amanda an hour later. She forgot what actually she saw, because she's moved on in memory-wise in life.
She's thinking about prom.
She's thinking about prom dresses. So again, it's just done. I think it's done a lot, and even putting the recording devices on in our jail. I found out when I took over, we weren't recording in the jail. I'm like, why not? What are we hiding in the jail? Yeah. So there is some HIPAA stuff in there, of course, because they do live in there. They shower, and of course they use the bathroom and that kind of thing. We can get around that via the law. But next thing you know, the complaints against my officers decreased by 70%. Because they were making allegations against my deputy sheriffs. It's an easy check in the jail, by the way. Yeah. We're going to write you a check. Well, not anymore. We stopped doing that. Knock on, where was wood here? Yeah. There's wood. We're not writing checks in the jail anymore because of simply just recording.
Well, and my take on the body cams is the only thing that people were really worried about, thought a legitimate concern was if you walked into a suicide scene. Yeah. And would that become public record, right?
Yep, sure.
But the other, I said, you're going to catch that occasional officer that has been inappropriate, right? Or said really. Absolutely. But what you're really going to catch is the crap that police take all the time.
Sure.
And there's going to be a lot more of those videos than there are going to be of the other ones, right? So the percentage, we have to do this to police the police. Well, you're going to find out that sometimes the people interacting with the police
in the community,
the police have been really nice to them and a whole lot nicer than you might have been under the same situation. And I think that's what has been borne out across this whole body cam thing over the last 4 years. Right?
Yeah, again, and I confess now, ignorance as a leader back then saying, no, I'm not doing it. We're never going to do this. I'm not going down that road. Ignorance on my behalf now, because now I look into it, and now that we're in the groove of things in the St. John's County Sheriff's Office, it's a better tool, and it's the best tool for us to actually be using. And I honestly thought that we were going to get the Mike Davises of the world. I want to see all the body-worn cameras you guys did yesterday. It's not going on, by the way. Yeah. Every now and then we'll get a request.
Cops is so much more fun. They've edited it. They've given us the good scenes.
Of course, yeah.
No, I know Pete goes to bed every night watching body cam videos from the sheriff's department.
I'm sure you do, Pete. And the other thing too, really too, if you watch our social media too, it's actually we're bringing some videos out that bring some humility to us and show us that we're human just like everybody else. So, and it's been kind of funny with some of the things that we run into some funny videos. Now, I do not watch body cam. The only time I've watched body cam is officer involved shootings and officer deaths. That's the only time I'm watching them.
But I think as a supervisor too, you can pull some of those, and there's probably some great training lessons.
By far,
right?
Hey, another point.
Yeah, you rolled up on this, and this is your first reaction.
Glad you said that.
And instead of de-escalating something, you kind of escalate a little bit. And next time, maybe try it this way. And it's great because everybody in the room is watching it going, okay, that maybe I've done that as well.
Yep, that's a good
and
point.
I need to adjust to that.
Well, everybody's memory is different too as well. So now you got deputy sheriffs that are watching their body worn camera. I'm just going to give you a quick example. So one of our deputy sheriffs up in the Ponte Vedra area walked out of a store. She was approached by a black male. It was first thing in the morning time, and the black male says, "There's a guy in that car right there with a gun in his lap." She turns her body-worn camera on, and she actually goes over and she says some not so nice words, basically. But she looks in the car and she says, "There's a white male in the passenger seat, passed out, and there's a black male driving a vehicle. They've been sitting there so long, the windshield wipers went raw on the windshield wiper. Wow. He had a gun physically sitting in his lap between his legs, which was visible from the outside. So anyway, long story short, her and another female deputy sheriff get the guy out of there. They put him on the ground. They secure him. They go to the other side. The black male is just unconscious. We find out later on they've been smoking meth for like 2 or 3 days. Wow. So they finally get this guy out of the car, and they get him out of the car, and actually, she's going to say hello.
I told you she would come say hello.
Awesome.
That's Amanda's daughter is here with us again.
She's in the producer room.
Yes.
So this black male is a large black male. They end up getting him out. They put him on the ground and stuff, and he immediately says he couldn't breathe. If you could see what our deputy sheriffs did, they roll him over under his side immediately. They handcuff him. You see one deputy sheriff, Deputy Reese, was massaging his back, going, "Hey, relax, breathe a little bit. We're going to stand you back up." It was that quick. But here's where it gets good. I talked to the deputy sheriffs. It was on a Sunday morning when it happened. I saw him later on. A lot adrenaline dump. A lot could have went on there that day. Anyways, I saw the deputy sheriffs out back. My wife and I came and checked on them, and just good kids. And I said, "Hey, what actually happened?" They told us the story. And they said, "Sheriff, if we didn't have this body-worn camera on, I don't remember it going down like that." She got refreshed her memory. And next thing you know, she puts pen to paper, and she's a liar. But she's not a liar. It's what her memory recalls at the time when your adrenaline is dumped with a possibly an officer involved shooting and taking someone's life, or vice versa, taking your life. But now they push play and watch their camera before they make that statement, and now it's accurate, clear, concise, and factual based on what the camera says. We've gotten better.
Yeah. One of the other issues you touched a little bit on it earlier, and we've had guests on this show. You've increased this program inside the Sheriff's Department. And you're a veteran as well. So the mental health issues in either being a veteran or being a first responder have increased with time.
Sure.
And the pressure that these police officers and fire department personnel are under. And so I think you actually have a program now that's working with your officers to get them help and give them somebody to talk to.
You know, we've always had I think all of us can refer back to that or remember that EAP thing, right? Where it was a check in the box, you're providing the services for your employee. You know, as a combat veteran, I came home and battled some stuff too as well. I mean, I came home a different man, you know, I had blood on my hands from a Jewish soldier dying on me. It's a long story, but, you know, I came home trying to battle some things internally in myself too as well. But actually, I wanted to do things different where if I provide a better employee to you that's financially fit, mentally fit, psychologically fit, financially fit, spiritually fit, it's going to provide a better product to you. So I have a psychologist on staff, Dr. Tracy Hedgemanowski. She's for my employees. She's not for the citizens that we respond to. We really kind of kind of reinvented the SHIELD program. We have an app on here called Cortico we just added last month that you can have every service you can think of, whether it be faith-based, whether it be mental health, substance abuse. You can get it on an app and it's private to you and your family only, and my retirees and their family. So next thing you know, we have therapy dogs walking around. We really hit home on peer-to-peer counseling. Matter of fact, one of my peer-to-peer instructors today, Captain Trey Edenfield, was up in Jacksonville at their sheriff's office. They want to know how we're doing it down here. So we brought financial advisors in, and people were like, well, Sheriff, you're spending tax dollars and all this stuff? Yes, because we're providing a better service back to you. We're always providing service to you, but who's taking care of us inside? Who takes care of that deputy sheriff when they smell blood, when they go to a traffic crash and there's a small child trapped in a car, or did CPR on a 6-month-old baby, or went in the water to get a person that's stuck in a car that's dying? And on top of that, some of our deputies work in internet crimes against children where they're online all day long trying to pick up offenders, predators on children, people that attend autopsies for a living, going to crime scenes and smell blood, guts, and tears. So with that, again, we provided better services there. And with that, our wellness program is through the roof. We were just voted on one of the best wellness programs in the nation. We just got the award a couple of days ago. So I just think we're doing things different to make a healthier, better product that we provide to you, which is customer service.
And you said 1,000 officers,
we're just at
staff?
Total staff. Yes,
total
sir.
staff.
Yep.
So I'm writing it down thinking as you're talking. I don't know of a single organization in St. Johns County that's 1,000 employees that doesn't have all these wellness programs that you talked about.
Sure.
And those employees aren't dealing with 90% of what you just download, right? 90% of the stuff. Yes, they're dealing with some hard things. When you talk about financial assistance, you've got people on a fixed income that are officers that are trying to get and staff through life.
Yeah.
And unless somebody's telling them and guiding them, because it's one of the things that we really don't talk a lot about.
Sure.
And you don't want somebody to get to the end of their career and be like, Sheriff, I've got to retire and I got zero money and I got no investments and I got nothing. Yeah. That's not any of our goals as employers. You want your employees, when they finally get the chance to reach the end of that and retire, that they're set and they can enjoy themselves and and be in good health.
Yeah, and mentally and good health as well. Yeah. One thing we forget about, it's for years, missed my 30th year in August, and all we have cared about is who wears this uniform. I had to look at the 30,000 foot view and go, what about the dispatchers that all they do is get a chance to hear it? They don't smell it, they don't see it, they don't see what the outcome is of the case. So we included them in there. What about the ones that are reading the reports every day, that have to go and read a report on a sexual battery on a child, and then the report is redacted and given out to an attorney or the judge, whatever it may be? We weren't taking care of all those people that work behind the scenes to make this massive machine turn. Or finding a God forbid an inmate hanging from a bed sheet in a cell. You can't tell me you can go home that night and you see clearly the rest of your life. And that's why I kind of go back to my military career, and people take jabs at about, of course, the things I've seen in my career. You don't come home the same people. You can argue it all day long, but we live like animals. You're away from your families. You're checked out of what's going on as your families raise your children, and then you take care of children on that end. In my situation, infantry soldiers, and then you come back different people, and they think that you go to the VA and they feed you pills and say we're going to fix you. That's not fixing me. You have to find yourself, and with that, so I kind of took what I saw in the military. The suicide rate is through the roof of the United States military. I think we're over 26 now a day, by the way. And people want to throw stones at us and say, what are you doing for what are we doing for the military? We have all these programs out there, but I think I told you, but we had one yesterday that's very close to a lot of people here in St. Johns County where their son is screaming for help. If it wasn't for our deputy sheriff's yesterday and the job they did, we'd be burying him 6 feet under. And the family reached out to me today begging for help. And I'm like, I was in those shoes of yours as an infantry soldier in combat, battling things in my head when I came home. So again, I think it's just looking at a much bigger picture and being humbled like me as the sheriff or the leader and having my wife with me and being able to talk to them. And another resource I didn't tell you was my phone is on 24 hours for my people. My door is open. My office is open. I'm not in my office a lot because I'm not a sit behind the desk type of guy. But it starts with a leader of a person reaching out to me. And I wish I could share a text with you for 2 days ago saying, Sheriff, I need help. And I called that deputy sheriff on the phone. I said, come on, let's talk, brother. So we got together, and he's battling, of course, a divorce. He's battling a small child that just was born recently. And then he's battling, of course, how do we pay bills? How do we get divorced? How do we afford life? And then come to work, by the way, and answer those hard calls for service and provide first-class customer service.
Completely different subject. It's in the national news. I don't know that it's a big deal here, but you read all the time, squatters setting up in homes. You know, I really don't think it's safe in the South to try to be a squatter.
I have to agree with you.
I mean, I really just don't think that's the place to do it. There are places in the United States that is probably safer than other places. But have you seen any of those issues?
No, you know what's funny is, of course, as you know, the governor, of course, is signing that bill, of course, with the squatters here, and we're excited about that. He's been a phenomenal governor for law enforcement. Matter of fact, I'm going to see him over the next couple of days as he signs 2 more bills. And we have not seen that problem here, but this was my response to that in a staff meeting. It's like, if you have a squatter in St. Johns County, you better call law enforcement because they're going to jail. We're not putting up with this in St. Johns County. I will tell you this, we got to be very, very careful because now with AI and social media and these platforms where somebody sells their house or rents their house, it all appears legitimate, and the person buying it buys the house. The people are in Europe, and next thing you know, they're in the house. We got to do our proper investigative technique and working to make sure we're not kicking out those law-abiding citizens that physically have fallen for a scam trap. But I had to laugh, you know, the LeBron James course over there where they're having the house parties next door with the squatters in there, for goodness sakes. And the cops come and say, we do nothing about it. Not in St. Johns County. No. You have a problem with that in St. Johns County, you call us immediately, and you can watch, and we will play it on body cam what we do to squatters in St. Johns County.
Well, there's some communities where the police have not done anything.
Zero.
So the neighbors have gotten together, and they basically protest 24 hours a day outside the house until the squatters leave. They're like, we're not going to put up with this in our neighborhood. The neighbors have had it because nobody else will do anything.
Isn't that what happened up in New York? That house that went viral. It was the neighbors that ended up.
The neighbors ended up dealing with the problem.
The vigilantes. They ended up taking care of themselves.
Well, I believe that was just citizens.
Oh, citizens.
It's a citizen movement.
I apologize. No vigilantes.
It's a citizen movement. No one was injured. No,
Mike, the advocate of
listen, I'm protecting property rights.
No animals were injured in this video.
No animals were injured. One of the things that's near and dear to your heart, police athletically.
Yes.
Because the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department does a great job, and you're in almost all the schools now anyway. I mean, I think you're in every school.
We have
resource officers, which is a trend that has happened over the last 5 or 6 years, because you didn't have resource officers everywhere. You kind of where you maybe were. And having done that in a time frame that our school population is exploding, but to me, it's even more important now that these kids see a police officer, get to know one. Because I think once you know people, you just have a different opinion, right? If you're told that person is such and such and such, and you don't ever talk to them, you can't break down that stereotype. So how are those programs going in middle and high school and the PAL? Sure.
So first of all, it starts with relationships, just like we always talk about here. And I'm blessed to have these relationships that have been long-lasting friendships, professional friendships and relationships. And, now here we are with the St. Johns County School District. And just going back real quick on Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, you got 17 people that were murdered, 17 were wounded, but the entire country was scarred. But you have things like Alyssa's Law, where a little girl who was a freshman in that school was murdered, and now we have Alyssa's Law, which took effect last year, which basically says there has to be a silent method to notify, activate law enforcement if you don't have your cell phone. So here in St. Johns County, we have Centedrix, of course, on all of our 6,000 plus employees in the school district, whether it's a janitor, a nurse, or a principal or a teacher. They can immediately, of course, push that credit card looking device on them. Automatically activates, of course, the 911 system at our real-time intelligence, our E911 system. It gives the GPS location where they're at. I mean, so it's these programs that we're doing. It's monitoring the cameras in the school. But here's where it's actually, I think it's most important, is first of all, that youth resource deputy sheriff, we've been reactive for years, and now we can be proactive. So this year, with the school's approval, I wanted to add 2 additional deputy sheriffs, which, of course, they're paying for, and all they do is write assessments. with Fortify Florida and kids writing on the bathroom wall up in Creekside, there's a bomb in the school. We have to respond and take every one of these threats seriously.
Yeah.
So these two threat assessment deputy sheriffs, Deputy Lori Lucas is in the south part of the county, Deputy Chris Flood's in the north part of the county. All they do is threat assessment. So on top of that, on top of deputy sheriffs that actually want to work in the school. And what I've done is I make my way around the school district and I talk to the principals and make sure they're happy with it's got to be a partnership, a relationship. And that deputy sheriff has to be a part of, and I'll say this, every school in St. Johns County is different based on geographically location, but geographically inside there, what the actual makeup of this school is, parents and kids and sports and location. So we have to be unique to, of course, providing services for that school. Starting this year, we've started is going back. I'll use the old DARE program. We're kind of rebranding it, but we're getting back in the classroom and start talking about the hard things like narcotics, fentanyl, vaping and little things like that these kids are accessible to. And this magical mean thing here, right, it gives them access to that world out there that we didn't have access to back in the day. So I think the relationships are key to success. The sheriff being involved, of course, as you know, I've been a long-time coach here. Our Police Athletic League, the governor gave us $5.9 million last year to build new complexes for, most people don't know this, but we have about 20,000 people, of course, that are at the poverty line or below in St. Johns County. Most of that's in southern St. Johns County or central St. Johns County. We handle about 2,000 kids in our Police Athletic League program. So again, I think we're just doing good things that are just an outreach to our youth here and being involved in the community and hoping to make it a better place for our children.
And I think you're doing a great job on that front. One of the things that I, as a parent of 20-somethings now, that I tell younger parents, so you have to understand times have changed.
Sure.
When my parents told me don't do drugs, I knew exactly what they were talking about and they meant, right?
Yeah.
When you say that today, you have just like scratched the surface.
Yeah.
You have to literally bring out a list with these kids today and go, these things constitute drugs, right? This is a drug, this is a drug, this is and you have to go down the list. And it's with every subject that you have to have a conversation with them about because they're like, well, you didn't tell me that was this.
Yeah.
Yes, that's that. I shouldn't have to explain that to you. But they almost take that, well, it wasn't in the fine print. It's like, we never read the fine print. We got one big bold headline. You're going to get beaten if you do this, right? These kids are like, well, you're not going to beat me anymore. So where's the fine print? I want to know exactly what it means. And I think you really have to, as a parent, you got to go, you got to get.
It's intense though, because it's not even the obvious stuff. You have to be like, look, don't take anything from anyone you don't know.
Zero.
And also don't take anything that doesn't come out of a sealed package.
Yeah.
Like, unless you absolutely know what it is, because it could be some crazy, insane THC gummy, and you think it's a gummy worm. Yeah, seriously.
Just happened where another kid brings something to school and gives it to a friend like that. Next thing you know, the kid is tripping and goes in, of course, the nurse's office in there. We physically just had this happen here recently. And the other thing, too, is, it's like where... how big does a definition have to be? Because if you get to include in there, don't take mom and dad's drugs to school and give them to friends because they're for mom and dad. I didn't take the drugs. You told me not to do them. You didn't tell me not to give them away. Yeah. You got to be specific.
That's the old, I learned it from watching you commercial.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, yeah. And this vape stuff and what they can put in these vaping devices. And, we're trying to look for these devices. Next thing you know, Nike makes a hoodie where you can actually suck from what looks like the hoodie string. It's actually a vape. I mean, we cannot get ahead of what is currently going on.
I had that all of my boys, right, fell into that vaping. And like, Dad, I'm not smoking, I'm vaping. You're smoking.
You're smoking.
Do you know, this is not good for you, right? This is not good for you. And I had to look at all of them and go, we buried your grandfather who never smoked from lung cancer. And you really want to do that? It's like, can we wake up?
Yes, it should be an eye-opener. Right.
Let's go.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like we, of course we went to the same school, but I feel like we were fearless, but not like that. I don't feel like we were as fearless to, hey, I got this new thing I want to try.
Jump off the roof fearless.
Yeah, right? Yeah. 312 bridge. 312 bridge.
312 bridge. And the Bridge Alliance, it seemed like a good thing.
Yeah. Did you do the 312 bridge?
No, I never did.
I did. I got suckered into it. I thought it was the right thing to do. I'm alive, though.
You met my mom.
Yes.
Right? Would you have done something that
No.
would have angered my mom?
No.
Me either.
No.
Right? And that's why people were like, Davis, you never do anything. I said, you guys want to come to my house? And
Yeah.
guys would go, I'd be like, hey, you guys want to come over Friday night? No, we can't sneak out of your
we're
house.
scared.
And
Yeah.
we're scared to death of your mom. And we have no idea what your dad would do to us if she let us live, right?
No, mom, yeah.
No, my mom was there.
See, I had Rhonda. You went to school with Rhonda. You grew
Yes.
up with Rhonda. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
Rhonda. Rhonda's a snitch, my sister. So I couldn't do nothing. Rhonda, I love you, but you were a straight up snitch. You told on me all the time, and I never told on you. I was so good to you. Anyway, sorry.
So I have an idea for a fundraiser. I was sitting here thinking during a way, so we all have these charitable causes, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe we'll get Pete Melfi to coach a youth team in a football game against you as a football coach, right? But then I thought the really fun thing might be able to do is to do a 904 Now pickleball tournament.
Let's do this.
And so you got Troy, who allegedly was an athlete at one point in time in his life.
Troy was never an athlete.
Although he's a baseball player, I'm not sure that's athletic. But I just say these things to get him mad. He'll be in tomorrow.
He will. I know he's texting me right now. Actually, I'm not even looking. Yeah.
But we could get the 904 Now crew, a couple other people that are celebrities, get in, kind of pick teams.
That'd be fun, actually.
And do a little pickleball tournament one day and let our viewers donate money to just charitable causes.
Yeah.
So
Bobby,
that would be
you
a lot
in?
of fun. Bobby's in.
Bobby, you're
Bobby's
in, buddy.
totally in.
Bobby
Yeah.
better be in. Davey, you're in.
Davey, you're in, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Davey's in. Davey, you're playing pickleball. Don't tell me you're doing an exercise class that day.
Yeah. By the way, Kendall was weak the day we played the firefighters. We played since then. She just wasn't feeling good that day.
Yeah.
She's now turned it on to what she truly is.
Well,
which is an
our viewers miss Kendall, and they say that she's amazing, and they were looking for her. So let her know that our viewers missed her today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm so blessed in life.
And I think Pete should have to wear a body cam so we can see how many times he gets hit with a ball.
Okay, that would be. Are we gonna put?
We really honestly do this. We need to do a 904 Now.
I'm all in.
Pickleball. I mean, it's easy. We get a pickleball court. We get a bunch of people together. We'll play. We'll have some fun.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Pete. I don't know who is on Pete's team. I don't think Troy will take Pete. Troy likes to win.
Troy, I recommend you take Bobby. Take Bobby. Bobby's all in.
Take Blake, Troy, if you want to win.
Take Blake, buddy. Yeah. Actually, Ken will probably take Blake.
I know Blake's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
No. So we'll figure this thing out.
do
I'll
this.
talk to the guys in the morning show. I'm glad that I've committed their weekend time as well to something that'll be fun. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Pete, you gotta quit whatever that stuff is that you do that affects your lungs because you're gonna
What
have
are
to
you talking
breathe.
The only way I'm playing is if he dresses up like his real identity, which is Van Strange.
Van Strange.
Van Strange.
Pete can show up as Van Strange and play. That will be absolutely
After
the
what you
best.
did to all us for the Florida Man games, you owe us, buddy.
Yes.
Stressing us out like you did unnecessarily.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
know
having
you're
me on.
always welcome here,
Yeah.
and I hope that you felt unfettered.
This
in
was easy, by the way.
interview, and
Yeah.
you did not feel like you had to follow a script.
Those stupid scripts they
Yeah,
give me every
I
time to
know.
read. By the way, it's not a script. It's total BS.
Listen, we love giving the morning show a hard time because they give us a hard time, so it's just
Say
really
it's
fun.
not so.
It is
I'm
true.
Switzerland. I'm doing nothing.
By the way, you have a beautiful radio voice, by the way.
Thank
You're
you
doing
very
lovely.
much.
You sound just like
Thank
Van
you.
Strange.
All right, this is the Mike Davis Show, and thank you.
Have a good
Chef
night. Appreciate
Hardwick.
y'all. Appreciate y'all too as
thank
well.
you,
Thank
man.
you for your support.
We'll be back tomorrow night with trivia and some angry morning show hosts.
Oh, very nice.
Bye.